Welcome to this first video to help you on your journey here in the cryptocurrency space. In this video, we're going to be talking about mindset, and I've brought in Crypto Billy, great educator in this space, who puts out a lot of motivational information as a whole, but has given lots of information and constantly does on his Billy Goat Tales channel. Again, links to all of that will be in the description of this video. And trying to educate everyone, not just on mindset, but mindset in the cryptocurrency space. So let's get into this video. Make sure you check out all the links in the description. I'll mention it several times in the video. And make sure you're taking in all of this information so you can develop the best mindset to help you succeed in this space. I'll see you in the video. Hello, everybody. As you begin your journey into the cryptocurrency space, you might be sitting here wondering, like, why am I starting out with a video about having the right mindset? Well, I mean, one thing's for certain, none of us have been educated well enough with regard to understanding money and finance. So with that thought in mind, I wanted to help give you some base mindsets to be able to function in the cryptocurrency space, get a better understanding about money and the banking system as a whole. But it's not just the fact that as a society, we've had, a lack of proper education in these areas. The crypto space is literally designed to operate differently. And so your chances of meeting your financial goals here in the cryptocurrency space will only increase if you have the optimal mindset for this space. Hopefully, by the end of this video, you'll at least have a beginner's mindset as to what is necessary to operate here in cryptocurrency and start and enter the space with a sense of wonder about exactly what this space can offer. And finally, a willingness to continue learning and adjusting your mindset, because as you'll find out, as things are always with life, changes happen, and sometimes you need to adjust your sails a little bit, need to adjust your thinking a little bit in order to succeed and grow. And again, that's not just here in the cryptocurrency space, but life in general. So today, along with my special guest, Crypto Billy, welcome, Billy.
Thank you.
We're going to highlight several ideas that I hope you'll ingest and make part of your mental strategy for success here in the space. For those who are not already familiar with Crypto Billy, he is the founder of Billy Goat Tales. Billy Goat Tales models the giver's game philosophy. So basically helping people reach their goals without any expectation of getting anything in return. That is something that in the world is sorely missing. Frankly, it's amazing how much you can get back from the universe when you put out good stuff into the universe. It just is. And listen, with that, I would like to welcome Crypto Billy officially here. And is there anything that you want to tell the viewers here before we kind of dive into all these topics, Billy?
Well, no, I think this is going to be a great video for you to learn the mindset that is needed to win and succeed in cryptocurrency. But what's beautiful about this, it's just not learning to win and succeed in cryptocurrency, but it's also going to be learning how to win and succeed in life, because the whole umbrella over everything is learning how to win and succeed and be successful and be happy and be content in life. And once you master those skills, you can master how to be financially successful in cryptocurrency. So I look forward to it.
Excellent. Excellent. I really appreciate you being here. And again, I'm going to mention it throughout this particular video, but all of Crypto Billy's contact information and Billy Goat Tales contact information is in the description of this video. Please go ahead, check that out. Make sure you're following them, because this gentleman right here puts out pearls of wisdom every day in a motivational mindset series. And quite frankly, we're going to just be like brushing the surface of things today. But if you're looking to get more things to think about, more things to consider, especially as you grow here on your journey, this gentleman is certainly one of those people who can help you to do that. Okay, so I guess we should kind of get down to the brass tacks, as they say. The first thing that we're going to highlight today is the idea of setting goals and expectations. And I don't know about you, Billy, but I've done a lot of motivational and mindset type of education throughout the course of my life. And always there is some mention, at least, of like goal setting. I have found that in my early years, I kind of skipped that part, because it was like, I know what I want to do. Why do I need to write it down per se? But I think as I've gotten more mature and have gained a lot of understanding, I now understand why people say write it down, have SMART goals, et cetera, et cetera. I would love if you could expand upon goal setting and all of those ideals for everybody who's here today.
Absolutely. So there's huge psychological and subconscious benefits in writing it down. To the most of us, when we hear that, we think, oh, we can remember it, or it's important enough that I'm going to remember it. But the truth of the matter is, just like saying things out loud, saying words out loud, affirmations out loud, it's different than you just thinking them in your head. When you say them out loud, you're putting it out there into the universe. That those words go out into the universe and they come back at you. And that's the whole idea around The Secret, right? The law of attraction. Similarly, when you write it down, you are putting it in writing that's preserving it forever, something you can really come back to and look at. And when you come back to and look at, you put it back in your brain, and you do that for 21 days and you'll form a habit. 21 to 30 days is what it takes to form a habit. So writing it down allows you to come back to it. It allows you to say it out loud. It allows you to be persistent with it. So for me, typically I have a 30-year plan, which nowadays, I don't know if I have 30 years left at my age, but I have a 30-year plan, but then I go to the 5-year plan, which is the things I'm going to try to accomplish in 5 years. And then for the years 1 through 3, I use a vision board. And the beauty of a vision board, because those are goals. Those are goals. So when you say
Right.
write it down, you create a vision board. And I have the years, like for this year's visions board, I have 2025, 2026, 2027. And then I will clip out and paste little pictures of things that I want to accomplish this year. For instance, a couple of months ago, I bought a new car for my wife. She loves this old Vibe. She's been driving since 2002. Her dad gave her the car, and it's a nice car, but it's 2002 Vibe, right? So I was like, it's time to buy a new car. Well, of course, instead of me writing a check that day for it, I was like, oh yeah, we'll finance it, and in a couple of months I'll pay it off, right? And so, of course, it went on my vision board. Well, that was just, it's been, I want to say December I bought that. And so, guess what? I get to write an X through today.
Nice.
But I kept going back to it. So some of it is I don't want to forget about it. I want to keep it in my brain. I want to make sure that the moves I'm making are driving towards that goal. It's a visual. I can see it. I build a routine where I wake up in the morning and I get right up and I look at that. So it keeps it in front of me. So writing it down is critical. I know it sounds corny maybe, and I know that you think you're too busy, and it just doesn't have that much weight, but it does. It does. And so you have to write it down, and you can do that and depict it on a vision board too. But I would start with your 30-year plan, especially you young people. If you're in your 20s or 30s, you got to do this. You have to write your 30-year plan down. And what that is the visualization of what you want your future to be. Do you want to live in a different state? Do you want to have a different job? Do you want to make a career move? Do you want to have a bigger house? Do you want to have a muscle car collection? Whatever it is. Do you want to learn how to play guitar, right? Whatever it is. But you have to write it down.
I agree. And I also think that writing it down gives you the opportunity to be able, like you just mentioned, celebrate the successes when they happen, because you're sitting there Xing that off. But you want to know what? That's a big pat on the back, because you just hit a goal right there. You just wiped that one off. To me, that's another good reason to make sure that you're writing that down.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You have to celebrate your wins, and you
Yes.
have to not dwell on your losses. You know, through that whole journey, you're going to have setbacks. You're going to have life come at you that you didn't expect, and you have to know that that didn't happen to you, that happened for you. That happened for you so that you can grow and maybe get to your goal faster. If you get to your goal faster because you went through this tough challenge that was unexpected, that's good, right? But in the moment, it certainly doesn't feel good, right? It feels like a big setback, right? So everything happens for you, not to you. And when you can believe that in your heart and soul, and it's hard to get there, trust me, it took me a
Oh
long
yeah.
time to get there. It's not like anyone teaches this stuff. If
True.
they do teach, if you're exposed to it because you're reading motivational stuff and business books, it's hard to take a whole book and keep everything in that book in your mind, because you can only you typically people can take a couple things out of the book and start applying it, right? So through the years, the more you read about these types of self-improvement things, the more that's going to stick, because a lot of the authors, a lot of these principles are taught in many different ways and many different books and many different videos, and so
Right.
slowly, because you just keep getting exposed to it in different formats in different ways, it slowly starts to resonate in your brain, and you start really becoming that person, and it takes a while.
Yes. That's truer words have not been spoken. And just so everyone knows, any resources that we're talking about today during the course of this video will be linked in the description. So make sure you go ahead and check the description before you leave this video today. Now, Billy, you talk about setbacks. And I mean, let's face it, we all have them in different points of our life, to different areas of our life. But it's very, and as you kind of talked about it, it's very much how we handle those setbacks that determines if we're able to continue to move forward with our goals. And I'd kind of like to use that as a springboard to get into the next group of thoughts that I wanted to make sure we talked about here today as far as mindset is concerned, and that's taking action and being consistent in your action. So if you've taken the time to write down your goals, set yourself some good goals, you face a setback, then means you got to maybe readjust your plan as to how it is you're going to get to that goal. If that's still a good goal, well, you still want to get there, but the road that you're going to use to get there is about to fork off, and you got to figure it out and find the right way. Maybe can you elaborate a little bit about your thoughts with regard to that? Maybe a couple of suggestions on how people might be able to do that, because I don't know about you, Billy, but sometimes for me, I get so lost in the minutia, it's difficult for me to even see that fork in the road ahead.
Right. So you really hit some key points already, Keith. So it's how you react to it, right? So certainly, if it's a loss of a loved one, you need time to grieve. Certainly,
Yeah.
you should be set back emotionally and physically for a little bit, because you have to get through a grieving process. So that's one type of setback. Another one could be a financial setback. Another one could, a job loss. I went through the 2008 housing crisis, and I'm
Oh
in
my God.
housing. I mean, I'm a builder, right? And I felt like I was so ahead of the pack in so many ways, and was very content, very happy, very thrilled with my financial success. Felt like I was on par and doing what I needed to do to get to my goals that I had laid out, and was ahead of the curve, and very happy times until the whole world collapsed, right?
Right.
So I used that opportunity to pivot. I used that, and I knew in the moment, I knew it in my heart, even though it was the worst financial disaster I've ever had to be a part of. I lost millions. And I knew in my heart, because of my faith, to be honest with you, that this is happening for me. I just couldn't see. I kept saying to myself, I got to see the lesson in this. I have to find the lesson. There's a lesson here that I need to find. And that was my quest, was regrouping and then finding the lesson and knowing in my heart that it was happening for me and truly believing that. It's one thing to say that when you're in that kind of crisis, unless you're a true believer, and faith is the substance of that hoped for and the evidence of that not found. Unless you have that faith, a lot of people can say it, but it needs to truly be in your heart. So whether you're a spiritual person or not, doesn't matter. That faith, wherever you're drawing that faith from, that this is real, that it's happening for me and not to me, then draw from that, right? And believe it, because it makes a world of difference because of what you just said, Keith, which was it's how you react to it. So you can be the victim or you can brush it off and you can say, this is happening for me and I'm going to learn from this. And the next version of myself is going to be even better. And
I'm
yeah, go
sorry, I
ahead.
didn't mean to interrupt. I was just going to say it's almost literally the only thing we can control is our reaction to whatever it is that we're facing, right?
Yeah, you have to move through life with intention. And to have intention, you have to have your goals and know who you are. So your goals define you. So you have to move through life with intention and purpose. But how do you have intention if you don't know who you are? There is where you're getting to your why. You have to
Yes.
know your why, which I know you had it written down on your as one of the things to talk about because it's a perfect fit. For you to know your why, you have to know yourself. You have to know why you exist and what you're doing here, what your goals are. And so that self study, if you're not taking the time, especially in the crypto market, right? In the crypto industry, if you're not taking the time for yourself to understand what makes you tick, understand why you're here, what you're trying to do with your life, if you're going to do anything in life, take that time to write that down so that you really understand yourself and what your purpose is and what motivates you and what you want to do with your life. So it all starts there. And then once you have that as the foundation, this moving with intention and purpose is easy. You're not going to let this life stuff get in your way because you're always going to be moving forward with intention and purpose, even when there's challenges, setbacks, and obstacles.
True, truer words. Now, okay, for some people, and I know I'm one of these people, I need to do that kind of forward momentum with just like absolute discipline. And I know discipline for some people only takes them so far, but I was hoping maybe we could expound on that just a little bit because to use my most cryptocurrency related example, I DCA into crypto every week. I do it on the same day at the same time. There's just I don't care if the market's up, I don't care if the market's down, I don't care what's going on. That's when it's happening. That's it. Same amount all the time. So I have that discipline of knowing that that is the time that I break away from everything else, and this is when I'm going to DCA into whatever it is I'm DCAing into that weekend. And even with that, I have a list. So here's the list. Bitcoin definitely part of that list, but then I have a couple of altcoins that boom, here we go. This is the one I'm doing today. So for me, I need that discipline. Otherwise, I find or found in the beginning that I would forget. Oh yeah, I forgot to do that today. Oh geez, I forgot to do that today. Could you maybe expand a little bit on the idea of discipline and if it doesn't work for everybody necessarily, being that disciplined, what can people do in alternatives for that?
Well, I think everyone in their life, if they're being honest, has struggled at different times with discipline. And discipline's another word to me for saying be persistent, have a routine, and just be the hedgehog. So in the book Good to Great, uh, that's a great book. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. Good to Great. There's something called the hedgehog theory. And the whole idea of the hedgehog theory is the how did some of the the good CEOs become great CEOs. One of the 7 concepts in that book was the hedgehog theory. So they went from good to great. The hedgehog theory basically states that a hedgehog exists in a hole. He gets up every morning. He has one mission. His mission is to go hunt for food. Now, when he gets out of his hole, he's walking along and he could be attacked. He could be attacked by a snake. He could be attacked by a fox. But what does he do? He just rolls up, lets all the attackers get exhausted. They can't get to him. And once they leave, he just goes on, continues to hunt for food. He does not let anything distract him. Now, he could be delayed because of the attack, but when it's over, he's just continuing going to go. Now, if that guy isn't moving with intention and purpose, I don't know who is, right? So discipline is the understanding that you have to move with intention and purpose. It is the understanding that you have to have a routine, that only you can do this. Only you can achieve your goals. So move to the future, which your goals are in the future, with discipline and intention and purpose. And don't let the distractions get in your way. That's very hard to do. So in some areas of my life, when I was really, really focused with discipline and determination and purpose on physical fitness, and like right now, I know I'm slacking in that area, just the full disclosure, because we all, even though you know these concepts and you can be successful in so many other areas, but there's always areas that you just need to apply these same things that you know to those areas and it'll work. So, when I get on that horse, I become so driven. I'm like Jayson Casper on the treadmill doing trading or so, so I do need to, like, for me, one of the things this year is physical exercise. So I never want to come off as an expert of anything. What I want to come off and say is, now that I have a little age behind me, I have a little wisdom that I've learned, and I'm just trying to pass these things on.
Yes.
Because we're all human and we all struggle with these things. I don't care who you are, right? You still struggle in certain areas, and you just got to go back and have the discipline to start that routine and start that moving with intention in those areas that you might be a little weak at. And in cryptocurrency, you definitely need to have discipline, because there's all kinds of emotion, all kinds of FOMO, all kinds of talking heads out there telling you, do this, do that, try this, try that. So you must develop this mental toughness and this mindset to get you through it, because it can suck you dry.
Oh yeah, that's the truth. And it's so funny that you end on this point, because it honestly leads me into what the next point was going to be which is, in today's society, we expect instant gratification. I mean, and that's so prevalent in the space these days, especially with stuff like meme coins and this and that. And, oh my goodness. I mean, we could just go on and on, could have a video just about that. We're not going to do that though. But how do we help people understand that they need patience in this space in order to succeed? To me, a lot of it plays to what we were just saying. Like, I know my discipline. Here it is, my DCA, my DCA, my DCA, I don't need to get it overnight. I have a long-term time horizon in my head and even on my goals, and setting all that down in writing, etc. I think these are all good ways. But Billy, how can we get new people coming into the space to maybe step away from that instant gratification and come to the other side and have a little bit of patience as they come into the space?
You're going to need patience, especially in crypto.
Yes.
So I'm sure on some of your other videos, we're going to get into like personal finance videos that we can walk them through techniques and strategies to help them develop good, proper financial management. But as far as generally speaking, with patience, that is the very thing for me in my life. Somebody asked me the other day, if you could talk to your 20-year-old self, what would you tell them? And the number one answer I gave was to have more patience. So for me, patience has always been the tough thing. especially in trading, right? So in trading, you really have to learn that. So whether you're trading stocks or crypto or commodities, you really have to learn patience. So what's tough about it, if you are a very driven person by nature, if you have a strong work ethic by nature, if you're mission centric by nature, then patience can be the enemy sometimes, because for you to outwork someone else and get a result before them, you put in the time, you put in the effort, you put in the energy, you have drive, you're mission centric, and so that's just who you are. And so it's like a lot of times, no, I don't care about that obstacle. Here's what we're going to do. Boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
You're always moving forward. You're moving sometimes too fast and breaking things. But I would
Yeah.
personally always like somebody moving too fast and breaking things, because those things that they break, we can overcome. I would rather try to have somebody get to the finish line with determination and endurance and dedication. And so for me, I like to surround myself with those type of people because I can deal with a few obstacles or a few mishaps, right? Versus the person that is just always stuck in the planning room. If you're always
Right.
stuck in the planning room your whole life, you're not getting there.
Right.
So, but here's the other side, which is what your point is. The other side is you have to be in the planning room. You have to be in the planning room. That's what we're talking about, setting out your goals for yourself. So you have to have a blend of moving quick, and also not expecting a result when you think you deserve it, or when I put the work in, I put the time in. This company should pay me more, right? Or I should get this raise now because I've done all this. Well, again, everything's happening for you, not to you. Have some patience, have some faith that if you're going to keep doing the right thing, you will be rewarded, or there will be a obstacle put in your place in which you have to veer to the Y in the road that's forcing you to do it now
Yes.
because you've lost your patience, and maybe you got fired, or maybe you didn't get your raise, and because you didn't get your raise, then maybe this other job comes open and you decide to take that, or whatever it is. Patience is critical because faith will allow you to get to where you're going. Endurance, discipline, having your goals, so you're not just responding to life, you're moving through it. You're moving through it
Yes.
with intention. So
Yes.
when you see people, for instance, that maybe you just don't click with, but maybe they're someone powerful. Maybe there's somebody with influence. Maybe they're a billionaire, but you just don't click with. Well, it gets easier and easier, guys. It doesn't matter because you're moving with intention based on your goals in your life and what you're trying to achieve. So whether you can bring them along with you, you don't have to clip to their wagon. You have your own life that
Right.
so it gets so much easier when you realize your why, when you realize what you're trying to do. And then you just don't let anybody get in the way of that. Some people help you get there. Some people can prevent you from getting there. You have to have the patience to understand the two and let some of that play out. Let some of it play out. Sometimes your worst objector, somebody that objects to what you're saying or doing, becomes your closest ally.
Yep.
So, but it would never happen that way if you didn't have patience.
No,
So
good point.
in my life, I would say if I could tell myself at 20, one thing would be have more patience and enjoy the ride, enjoy the journey.
Yes. Yes. Well, and you know what? You kind of hinted, and it's something we're going to touch on in a couple of moments in this video, but you kind of hit on it and said, you surround yourself with people that help you in that regard. And community, I've found, and it wasn't always this way. I've learned this within the last year. Having the right community of people is what helps you to get by. And for the longest time, I thought, I can go it alone. I set my goals. I can do this. And it wasn't like I didn't move forward, but a lot less enjoyable, and definitely not nearly as quickly as when you surround yourself with the right community. But before we get to community, I want to talk about this piece, because I'll tell you what, for those who don't know, I'm going to link to a video that Billy and I were in. It was kind of a roundtable discussion. And we were talking about, the average retail investor coming into crypto, et cetera, et cetera. And Billy gave this piece of advice that I had to make sure was included in this video, because most of us, I know, at least for my generation, I was never trained this way. The point he made was to pay yourself first. And I was always taught, you know what, you pay everything else, you get rid of all your obligations, and then if you got money left, congratulations, that's for you. But that to me has stunted, or at least I can speak for myself, that to me has stunted my growth financially, operating that way for what probably ends up playing out to almost decades, so Billy, I'm going to shut up now, and I'm going to please talk to people and explain the importance of this pay yourself first, because I think that is something key that people in this crypto space need to understand.
Sure. Well, I was just blessed to be around a mentor at a very young age that gave me that notion. So that was a blessing. That was a golden nugget that popped up in my path, that it was unexpected. And it resonated with me. She was a financial planner, and she wrote a book called Get Rich Slow. And one of the principles in there was pay yourself first. And so for my whole life, I just came up early on. I was still 18 years old when I met her. And that notion just stuck with me, just like it did with you, right? And what I'm finding, before I get to that exact answer, what I'm finding is some of these notions from 30, 40 years ago have been lost.
Yes.
And so these are not my original ideas. And I have just learned these nuggets, and I'm just wanting to pass them on, right? Put them out here in the webs and have people learn about them and hopefully help their lives with them. So I always say, I don't think I have an original thought. I think they've all been somehow, I've read them, I watched them, I've thought about them, I've applied them, and they worked, so now I'm just in a place where it's my turn to pass on the information. But paying yourself first, especially when it comes to a financial plan of any type for yourself, is a huge principle. Because if you think about taxes, for instance, most people are going to work 2, 3, 4 months of a 12-month calendar year for the government.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So every check, when you get into the time value of money and the laws of DCA, dollar cost averaging, by paying yourself first, every 2 weeks, say you get paid, you put whatever, $10 into Bitcoin, or $10 in the old days into a CD or whatever, a mutual
Right,
fund.
right.
But the idea is, by you first paying yourself first, that time value of money, the accrual, the future value of that money, is going to compound and become exponential later on in life. So you want to pay yourself first. You want to pay yourself early. You want to be, since you're doing the work, why are you giving it to everybody else first and not yourself? So now, I've been asked this question about that, so I'm glad you brought it up. Look, if all of your expenses for the whole month, your car payment, your house payment, your insurance payment, your utility bills, if all of your expenses equal your take home, your bring home pay, then to pay yourself first, you have to change that. In other words, don't abandon the notion of paying yourself first. What you have to do is get a better job that pays you more. Or what you have to do is cut some of those expenses.
Cut something. Yep.
Find a way to get in a position to pay yourself first. So, because there's a lot of young people, it's tough out there. It's different than when I came through the system. And so the young people would tell me, well, geez, everything goes to expenses. There has not been, I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but there has not been a time in which I've sat down with somebody and haven't been able to cut some fat. You don't think it's fat because you have a subscription to Netflix, you have a subscription to all these channels. You buy a Starbucks coffee a few times a week.
Yep.
You're willing to do that instead of paying yourself first. So you have to, these go back to habits, right? And we haven't really got into habit. We talked about goals and routines and a little bit on habits, but micro habits become macro habits. So you can find a way to pay yourself first. And if you do that, and 30 years from now, probably go to my gravestone and say, hey, thanks, Billy. I appreciate that for you. You really helped me. So, but pay yourself first is a huge principle. Highly recommend it. It works. And even though, like in my journey of life, I did that at such an early age, which allowed me to get in front of the curve compared to my peers at that moment, in those moments in time. So say up to the crash of '08. Well, now that I've had success in doing it, even though the crash came and it was like, oh my goodness, how did this happen?
Right.
I worked so hard to build this beautiful plan. It was working. Well, it was so much easier to restart because all those habits were already built. So those good habits were already built. So it was easier to restart, and when you do have any type of setback, you can get through it a lot faster than you could if you didn't have those habits. And so it works. The system works.
Yeah, you're not starting from zero at that
Right.
point. You've built up the habits, like you said. That's huge. I appreciate you taking the time to expound on that. And again, it's definitely something, especially that philosophy has played into what I was explaining earlier as part of my discipline on this day, this DCA, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that all comes out of paying myself first, and plus whatever additional, which there's not a lot of room for additional, but as long as I get my DCA in, I'm a happy man. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so we're going to round this up. And again, remember, folks, this video is not meant to be an all-encompassing video. It's probably going longer than I had originally intended it to go, but I want to get this information out to you. So we're going to round off right now talking about community. Billy and I were talking briefly about it earlier, and I think, and again, to my personal experience, within the last year, have learned myself where cryptocurrency is concerned, especially, which is the irony is I knew it outside of cryptocurrency. You always hear you're the sum of your five closest friends. You know what I mean? That's how you can judge your net worth, this, that, the other thing. And so I kind of knew it from outside, but for whatever reason, it didn't resonate here in crypto, which doesn't even make sense. So I recently realized that myself, and I have found that I am now seeking out people who are, I guess, of a similar mindset, but more who seem to be good people, who seem to be willing to help anyone. Doesn't matter what the situation, what their status is, if they're a big influencer, a no influencer, or whatever in this space, and just be willing to do it because it's the right thing to do. And so, Billy, given that's what you're literally developing here in the space, I'm going to turn it over to you to kind of like expound on that and explain its importance and how people can maybe help to find their community.
Yeah. The big point there is don't follow the wallet, follow the heart. So what I mean by that is you have influencers, maybe they have 100,000, a million subscribers. The more you grow in any industry, including the YouTube industry or the cryptocurrency industry, the more you see somebody become successful and popular and almost celebrity status, the more humility you should see. That defines their character. So when you see somebody, we've been in this space long enough, we've seen people come up from 0 subscribers on, say, YouTube to 100,000 subscribers. The folks that have not changed, the folks that understand the weight they're carrying, they're influencing a lot more people, and therefore they adjust and become even more humble. Those are the people. That's what you need to look for. Don't look for the wallet. Oh, I'm making $1 million a year. I'm
Yep.
making 10 million a year. Don't that should that's the FOMO side of that's the emotional side of most human beings. You have to be careful, peel that back and look at the character, look at the humility, and follow that person, because as they grow and they become more and more popular or celebrity status or even richer, right? If you're seeing that occur and their humility remains intact or it even grows, in some cases, the best guys, they understand the weight and they even become more humble and careful. That's what you should look for. But as a human being, we are all attracted to celebrity. We are all
Sure.
attracted to success. And so there's where we can go wrong, because as we all know, there is so much scandal and really what goes on behind the closed doors.
Right.
And if they're different people there, you don't know it versus the person in front of the camera on TV, right? So look for those signs and signals. Now, as it relates to community, community is everything. We say find your people. So when you see hashtag FYP, that's find your people. Because in the giver's gain philosophy, our group, Billy Goat Tales, it's we don't want any takers. We want givers. And what I mean by that is when you have all givers in your community, givers helping givers, magic happens.
Yes.
Magic. When you have a giver and a taker, the taker's always going to win. That's the guy with the angle. That's the
Yep.
guy that has really, he's seeking something from you. You just don't know it. That's the guy that maybe built up some trust with you. And the next thing you know, he's telling you to buy this meme coin because he was airdropped 10 million of them. And then when his community buys, he's going to sell and make a ton of money. So takers are out there. They're everywhere and they run rampant in our space. And we're trying to clean that up. So community, find like-minded people, develop your community, hang with those people, get to know those people. The more contacts you make, the more information you're going to get, the safer you're going to be in the crypto space.
Oh, 1,000%. Listen, folks, if you haven't taken anything else away from this video, take that away and find your people. Become part of the community that you want to help to grow. Wise words. We're going to start wrapping this up. I want to say an absolute thank you to Crypto Billy for being here today. And again, please, if you're not following Crypto Billy, links to all of his information is in the description of this video. So please go ahead and do that. Billy, thank you so much. Is there anything last thoughts you'd like to leave for before we close out this video?
No, I just want to say thank you for inviting me on. I hopefully we can touch some people in a positive way and keep them safe and teach them the things in life that matter, then they can then use in the crypto space. Because once we can teach them those life lessons, those techniques and tricks and tips and things that help them get their life sorted out, then we can scale down to the crypto space, right? And they can
Yeah.
repeat those lessons that they're using in their life in the crypto space. So I just want to say thanks for having me on. I appreciate the invite, brother.
It's been my pleasure, believe me. And folks, you'll see Crypto Billy in a couple of future videos. And like I said, hopefully this is giving you something to think about, and that this video is just the beginning of the journey if you're new here to crypto. So watch for the future videos that are coming out. I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you on the next video. I hope you found some value in this video. Make sure, again, you check out the links in the description. We mentioned briefly in the video that Crypto Billy has written a children's book about Bitcoin. Link to that is in the description. I highly recommend it. if you have children or grandchildren that would be interested in reading these children's books. Go ahead, check it out, link in the description. Again, thank you for being here. I hope you got value from this, and I'll see you in the next video.